Good morning and welcome back, everybody. This is Rob Orr, and I wanted to get back on here like I've been doing in the mornings for the last couple weeks. Come and enjoy a cup of coffee and say hey, say what's up, see how you guys are doing, see what's going on in your world, and talk a little bit about what's going on with me and what I'm working on this week, hopefully to get a bunch of stuff done this week. It's Monday morning. Feel much better today after spending a few days at the beach with my family for my birthday. It was awesome to be able to do that and really enjoyed that. We really needed to get some time away. You know, we haven't really hardly been anywhere, done anything at all, except, like most people, just kind of moving around town and, doing their thing, amidst all the coronavirus. Everybody's wearing a mask and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I wanted to come in and talk to you a little bit about something that, if you haven't read Traffic Secrets, that you haven't heard anything about, unless you are a fan on my YouTube channel and you saw a video that I did back in January, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And really what I wanted to do is talk about why it's important to have this thing and what it is actually supposed to do. So I titled this video with the simple question, what is a funnel hub? And you may or may not have heard of that, like I said, but a funnel hub is a tool that you use to establish yourself online and give you one main central place online that you control, that nobody else can alter or infringe upon. So let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, there is a guy who's still around. He's still doing his thing. His name is Jon Acuff. And he had joined Dave Ramsey's organization and was a speaker presenter. I don't really know all the stuff that he did for Dave Ramsey and his organization. But when he joined Dave Ramsey, one of the things that he did was he evidently signed over all of his intellectual property or something like that, because one of the things that he signed over was his personal domain name. And I thought that was really weird at the time because, it's not something, it's like giving somebody access to your bank account, right? You just kind of not real sure why you would do something like that. But anyway, they're doing their thing and they're, doing books and doing their, whatever their business stuff was that they were doing together. And eventually, Jon figured out that he didn't want to be part of that. He didn't want to continue in that. And he ended up leaving Dave Ramsey's organization. Well, as part of whatever the fallout was from the event or their agreement, he didn't get his domain name back. And in fact, if you go to jonacuff.com, it still redirects to Dave Ramsey's site, which I think is a really crappy thing, by the way, that Dave Ramsey has done. Dave Ramsey doesn't have any claim. Legally, I guess he probably does, but I think that it's really crappy that Jon Acuff didn't get his domain name back when he left Dave Ramsey's organization. Here's the problem that happened there. So when he left Dave Ramsey's organization, he left all of what he had created behind on that domain name. So he didn't control his space. And I'm not saying that any of us are going to enter into those kinds of agreements. There are different ways that we can lose control over our space online, right? So for instance, we can be banned from Facebook, right? I use a tool to go through and clean out my friends list every so often, and I always see like 4 or 5 people accounts, the accounts of 4 or 5 people. Let me see if I can actually speak, where their accounts have been deactivated. And, sometimes this is for violating policies and whatnot. It's usually what it is. So, and most of the times, these are people that I've known that were marketers or whatnot. So if you're only relying on Facebook, you run the danger of getting your platform removed, and you could be completely removed from your target audience that you spent months, years building, and all of the content that you've been creating on your Facebook page is gone in an instant at the whim of Mark Zuckerberg, because he thinks that you violated his policies. So that is a big problem. And I think that, there has to be a solution to this. So one of the core fundamental things about a platform funnel is that it is a space online that you control. You control the branding, you control the messaging, you control the look and the feel, you control all of the technology. And unless your hosting business goes out, or your hosting service goes out of business, then you are fine. And even better though, as a side note, even if your hosting business goes out of business, hosting service goes out of business, you can still move your platform to another hosting service. Mind-blowing, right? It's pretty amazing to think that people have invested so much time and effort on building Facebook as their sole source of traffic. It's so dangerous, right? Because you're literally playing in somebody else's sandbox. And you could, at any moment, by the whim of the people who control that platform, be gone. So a platform funnel then is a place, like I said, that you control online, that you have complete control over, where you can continue to build your brand and tell your story and to get your message out. And that's a really big deal, because you want to have somewhere to send people. Like, for instance, if you're one of these marketers that has made some strides in your business and you're starting to get interviewed, you're going into people's groups and doing Facebook Lives, or you're getting onto their podcast, or they're bringing you on to do a live interview on YouTube or something like that. One of the questions they should be asking you at the end of those interviews is, how can we find out more about you? Or where do we go to learn more about you? And I know from my own experience that lots of people are just sending people to their freaking Facebook profile because there's nowhere else for them to go. So that's so unbelievably dangerous, to not have somebody else, somewhere else to send those people who are wanting to learn more about you for a variety of reasons. And as we go through these different Facebook Lives that I'm doing this week, I'll talk more about the more specific things. But the first and foremost, most important thing about a funnel hub, and I call it a platform funnel, is that you control your space. It means you control your brand, means that you are the one who ultimately makes the decisions about what goes up and what comes down. And you are able then to build your audience. And like I said, there's a lot of different things. But like I said, first and foremost, you don't want to end up being like Jon Acuff. And if you don't believe me, go to jonacuff.com and see what's going on, because it redirects to Dave Ramsey's store. And if you watch this Dave Ramsey, somehow you find your way into my feed and onto my Facebook Live, give Jon back his domain name. You don't need it. You got plenty of stuff. There's nothing wrong with extending a little bit of goodwill and giving him back his own name. So anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. I wanted to come in and touch base on this with you, because I'm going to be talking a lot about platform funnels over the next week or so. So keep an eye out for more information. If you would like to know more, I've got a guide that I've created that finally have worked out all the kinks, that if you go to websitesarenotdead.com, you can go and download the guide that I created that just might be one of the most important freebies that you've ever downloaded. So, and yeah, that sounds like hyperbole, sounds like hype, but I think once you've read it and you understand the concepts that I'm talking about in that guide, you'll get why I'm talking about those things in that guide. So you'll understand what you need to do to apply solutions for your own business. I can't even speak. I haven't had enough coffee yet. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye.